All right, let's talk about something that affects pretty much every single workplace: harassment. There's so much noise, so much confusion out there, so today we're going to cut right through it. We're going to dismantle the myths that create fear and silence and arm you with the actual facts. Let's dive in.
So, here's a question we've all probably asked ourselves at some point. Is it just a joke? You know that moment, right? The line between what feels like office banter and something, well, something that feels really uncomfortable. It's this murky gray area where real harm can happen. But don't worry, over the next few minutes, we're going to make that line crystal clear.
Okay, so first up, let's talk about the myths. And these aren't just, harmless little misunderstandings. No way. These are the kinds of beliefs that actually build a culture of silence. They're the reason people don't recognize harassment, or worse, don't report it, even when it's happening right in front of them. Let's kick things off with one of the absolute biggest myths out there: the idea that harassment is only a women's issue. The truth? Harassment doesn't care about your gender. At the end of the day, anyone, and I mean anyone, can be a target. And hey, don't just take my word for it. The data totally backs this up. Just look at this number. 43% of men report experiencing sexual harassment at work. Let that sink in. That is nearly 1 out of every 2 men. This isn't some niche problem. It's a huge systemic issue. And that old stereotype that it only affects women, it's actively stopping people from getting the help they need.
So, we've cleared up who can be a target. Now let's dig a little deeper into what harassment really is. Because trust me, it goes way beyond the obvious, really extreme stuff you might see in a movie.
Okay, here's another giant myth we need to bust. The idea that for something to be harassment, it has to be physical. That is just plain wrong. It absolutely 100% includes verbal stuff, offensive jokes, insults, you name it. It also includes creating what the law calls a hostile work environment. And all that really means is that the behavior is so bad or happens so often that it makes the workplace feel intimidating or just flat out abusive. So what about the person doing the harassing? There's this common myth that it has to be a boss or supervisor, right? Well, the reality is it can be literally anyone you work with: a coworker, a client, someone who works for you, even a vendor. It's the behavior that matters, not the person's job title. Simple as that. And this brings us right back to where we started, doesn't it? The whole "it was just a joke" excuse. If you take away only one thing from this whole discussion, let it be this: harassment is defined by the impact it has, not the intent behind it. It doesn't matter if you meant it as a joke. If it makes someone feel uncomfortable or intimidated or offended, it can be harassment. Yeah, just let's pause on that for a second. Intent does not negate impact. It's so simple, but so powerful. In the workplace, and definitely in the eyes of the law, what really matters is how your actions land with the other person. It's all about the effect, full stop. For a lot of people, that idea right there completely reframes the whole issue. And let's tackle one last really damaging myth: this idea that if you don't report something right away, it probably didn't happen or isn't a big deal. The reality is people wait for so many valid reasons. They're scared of losing their job, they're dealing with the trauma of what happened, or maybe they just don't trust the system to help them. A delay in reporting has absolutely nothing to do with whether the claim is true. Phew, okay, so we've torn down a lot of the myths that cause so much confusion. Now let's pivot and talk about the solution. Let's talk about the real, concrete legal protections that are out there. Specifically, in India, there's a major law that's designed to be a true safety net for employees. It's called the POSH Act, and it came into effect back in 2013. It's a really big deal. It covers pretty much any workplace with 10 or more employees. And the best part? Its goal isn't just to punish people after something bad happens. It's really about creating systems to try and prevent harassment from happening in the first place. Now, a huge part of the POSH Act is something called the Internal Complaints Committee, or the ICC. And check this out, its structure is specifically designed to be fair. It's not just some random group of managers. It's got a mix of employees, a required external expert, like someone from an NGO, and the person in charge has to be a senior woman from the company. It's all designed to make sure things are impartial and balanced. And I really want to stress this: the ICC isn't just for some informal chat with HR. No, this committee has real teeth. It has legal powers that are pretty similar to a civil court. That means it can actually summon witnesses and demand to see documents. This gives their investigations some serious weight. So what happens if a company just doesn't comply? Well, the consequences are very real. If a company doesn't even set up an ICC, they can get hit with an initial fine of 50,000 rupees. And believe me, the penalties just go up from there if they keep ignoring the law.
Okay, so we know the law is there and we know the committee has real power. But what does it actually look like if you need to file a complaint? What are the steps? Let's walk through it. As you can see, this isn't some vague, open-ended process. It's all structured with really clear timelines that are set by law. First, you file the complaint. Then, a formal investigation has to be finished within 90 days. After that, the committee submits its report and the employer legally has to take action within 60 days. It's a clear roadmap from complaint to resolution. And holding this entire process together is one absolutely critical rule. Confidentiality is mandatory. The law is super strict about this. The privacy of everyone involved has to be protected. The person who complained, the person who's responding, any witnesses, everybody. This protection is just so vital because it helps people feel safe enough to come forward in the first place. Look, a law is a great framework, but it can't do the work all by itself. To really fix this, we have to think bigger than just checking a legal box. We have to talk about culture. We have to talk about building a workplace where safety is something we're all responsible for.
And what's cool is the POS Act actually puts the responsibility on employers to lead that cultural change. They're legally required to have a clear policy, to do regular training, and to be really open about how the ICC works. The whole idea is to be proactive and prevent problems, not just react and punish people after the fact.
And really, that's what this all comes down to. A safe workplace isn't some fantasy. It's not a myth. It's a right. We've busted the myths, and we've looked at the tools that are in place to protect that right. So now, the only real question is the one right here. What are you going to do to help build it?